Hi folks, this is Mitch from Hard Intentions YouTube channel. And as you may know, we also have a website, which is hardintentions.com, where we sell t-shirts and other things, prints of my art, and we're working on other issues other items to bring out to you. My last video, I left off at CMC West, and I was just sitting around thinking about, I have a friend there. I had a friend there. I don't know if he's still there. I have to look it up. But called himself Lifer Larry, and I remember meeting Larry at Tracy back in 1989. And I was in Tracy for about 5 years, so I knew, Larry for quite a while. And Larry lived with my homeboy. And my homeboy, Frank Mulholland, has passed away. But when I got to Tracy, Frank hooked me up pretty good, man. He came to my door, slid me some Copenhagen, shampoo, all that good stuff a guy needs when he first gets to a prison. And, we were pretty good friends. And so Frank was a heroin addict. Hope to die, heroin addict. And Larry was a speed guy. He loved speed, and Frank had money. He inherited some pizza parlors or something. Somebody passed away and left some pizza parlors, and he had, quite a bit of money, so he could party it up, nonstop. And I heard he passed away in prison from Hep C, and to the dying day, man, he'd be laying on the yard, stomach swollen up, talking about, where can I get a shot? He was a hope to die heroin addict. But I think because he had money, he never really had to compromise himself to get it, And on the streets, he used to rob banks, and I think they called him the gentleman bandit, because he would go into the bank and he was polite and nice and all that, and he would rob them with a squirt gun. And one of the tellers said, after she gave him money and everything, she noticed there was water dripping out the front of the pistol. It was the squirt gun. Frank was a character. He was a super good dude, funnier than hell. And he was a stand-up guy, been around, So Larry, he was a good dude too, but like I say, he liked that speed, bad. And he would just, lay up in the cell with smut books, lights blaring, all curtain around his bed, drawing heat, And Frank liked to gamble. And Frank ran a football ticket, and which means, people placed bets with him, like a football pool. I think he ran, and he would pass out the sheet, all the guys' names and all the teams they picked, and they kept raiding his house, and it's like Larry was bringing heat, and he came over to my cell, goes, "Hey, brother, man, can you, go and fucking Larry's in there, man. He's been up for, 3 days or whatever." I look in there, the lights are on and the curtains, and someone in there yanked the curtains down, and I go, "Hey, Larry, what's up?" I put my arms up on the top bunk. How you doing, bro? Fuck this. He's like, yeah. It messed his little program up, But, yeah, he would just drive Frank crazy. And, Larry was a welder. And he was good at it, and he worked his ass off in prison industries, welding chairs and just about anything that needed welding. He did it, and he was all right. But yeah, so I saw Larry again later on in Donovan prison, and we all transferred down there for Category T program, and Larry stayed there for years, and he worked on the IDO crew, the inmate day labor crew, as a welder. He did other stuff too, but he was a welder, and he was one of them guys. He was a little short guy, and you wouldn't think much of him if you didn't know him. But when there was a problem needed fixing, as far as like welding, he would handle it, man. He was a good welder, and same thing. He was partying it up, but he kind of transitioned back and forth from the speed to the heroin, whatever. He just liked to party. He was a party animal, And, Larry was all right on the streets, man. He had some things going on. And I think he ended up shooting his business partner, killing him. That's why he was in prison. So at CMC West, there was Larry, and he would sit out on the front, uh, not a patio, but like the street. They had benches, That CMC West is like a park, so they had a street going up and they had benches and trees, and we'd sit out there, and Larry would just be like, "Damn, Smiley, you think they were gonna let us out?" And I said, Larry, I think that we might end up dying in here, right here in this funny little yard, And after a while, though, I started seeing more and more guys go home, and I told them, Larry, we got a shot to get out of here, man. So, Larry used to get packages from his brother, and I think his brother's passed away since then. And but Larry would get like old tennis shoes, and he'd take the soles off and sew other soles on, or patch them up. He was always sewing up shoes, and he'd sell them for $4 or $5 to new guys that came in, and I just thought, man, here's a guy that used to make a couple $100 a month, between his job is in IDL or PIA welding, and his little hustling. Now he's down to sewing up beat up tennis shoes and selling them to newbies on the yard. Because when guys come in, all they got is flip flops, jab flaps or karate flaps, and I thought, man, what the hell, And he would just call himself Lifer Larry. Have you seen Lifer Larry? And popping morphine pills he could scrounge off the yard, and I thought, man, that's he'd have a cigarette once in a while because tobacco's illegal, a little hard to get. And I thought, man, what the fuck, It's down to that, and then I kind of analyzed my own situation, and I thought, man, I'm hustling my ass off just to buy art supplies, Of course, now it's kind of paid off because I got my T-shirt patterns I painted while I was in there and all that kind of stuff. But I just thought, man, life has gotten pretty bad in here. To see him doing that, he was still, but he was laughing about it. He's like, this is what it's come down to. I mean, he recognized it too. And later on, Larry got found suitable for parole, man, and then they took his date. And for some odd reason, that he could have dealt with easily and got his date back. And while he was waiting to go back to board, he gave him a dirty morphine test, lost his job on IDL, and just, I don't know what happened after that. I know that they denied him parole, because of that dirty morphine test. And so that was part of the reason why, man, that I decided I just really had to focus on getting the hell out of there. And I had seen a few of my friends go home that had life terms, and I saw a friend of mine that go home that had 20 years. He did 85% of 20 years, and he was in Lancaster with me, and John, and he had gone from Lancaster over to CMC East, which was supposedly a place where white dudes aren't supposed to go, even though it's a mainline prison. It's a pretty weak place. And while he was there, he took welding, became a welder, and got pretty good at it, and went to college, did a bunch of stuff, positive shit, And then when he became a level 2, he came over to CMC West Yard. And, guys got on him about being over there because technically they're supposed to remove him, And this is a guy I talk about in Lancaster. White Crip tried to slice him, and he ended up going heads up with a dude and fucking him up. And then at a later time, he was on the phone during a riot with the Southsiders, and Southsider went up to him while he was on the phone and tried to cut him. And he ended up knocking the dude out. And they were in the cell looking out, and saying, they were debating whether to go out there and stab this guy while he was laying there knocked out. And Johnny was like, nah, that's all good. But Johnny was a tough guy, so when he came over to West Yard and they started giving him shit, he's not a dope fiend, he's not a drug addict, he's clean and sober and all that shit. He told me, fuck you guys. He went heads up with two dudes in the day room, and, he touched them up a bit. And then he was like, hey, fuck, anybody else want some, bring it. But, I saw him go home. And I had another friend there, Bobby, who I just found out is alive after I was told he had passed away. I saw Bobby go home, and Bobby was a guy who did time in Pleasant Valley, pretty serious yards. He went from a level 4 yards, level 3 yards down to level 2, and Bobby had a serious drug problem too, and he ended up dealing with his drug problem, and we used to walk the track all the time, and he worked in R&R, and Bobby got me a radio through R&R, which the cops ended up taking later on. Bobby's boss was a real piece of shit, and I forgot his name, but he told Bobby, hey man, you want a radio? Bobby told him, yeah. So he came and told me, hey man, you want a radio? I got a green light to get a boombox through R&R, and they have them in the catalogs. I could have got whatever I wanted, and because you weren't allowed to have them there. So I got a little Sangean radio with 2 speakers, digital, all that shit. It was a pretty cool radio, man. It had clock on it, and so Bobby got it sent in. I think I did some artwork for him or something, I forget. And the cop gave it to him, and then Bobby came and gave it to me. I put my name on it, and I was like, cool, So later on, some cop heard that radio and came in the dorm and looked around. He saw my radio and he took it. And I was like, what the fuck, man? What are you doing with my radio, Guy was kind of an asshole. And he took it over to R&R. And the cop that worked there, Bobby's boss, said, man, how does Smiley get this fucking radio? And Bobby's like, well, I'm going home, man. So, I want to leave it to him. And as a matter of fact, you should give it back to him and put it on his books because, he's never going home. And, he needs a nice radio. Well, the cop was like, yeah, sure. But the cop was butthurt that he gave me the radio. And Bobby was like, hey, look, man, I'm not taking a prison radio home, And so Bobby ends up paroling. And the cop never gave me that radio back. And I found out later on, that cop retired. He gave that radio to his wife who worked over on the East Yard. And she was a real bitch. She worked in the medical. And, she was a real piece of work too. She was worse than him. I mean, this dude worked R&R and used to pass out packages. And I'd go over there for my art supplies and he'd say, I'd say they weren't here. He'd bark at me. And he's inside this window in R&R. And he's like, I told you they're not here. Get the fuck off my window. And I'm like, wow, dude. I mean, just, and then the next day, go up there and it'd be nice as hell and give you your stuff and just be all, he'd do was straight bipolar, man. I had serious issues with this dude. I hated this dude, for real. And, he never gave me that radio back. He gave it to his wife. And, some paperwork hit the yard out of that R&R. It was after Bobby left, but I think it came from that cop. That cop ended up retiring, but here's the deal. One time, this dude went over to the hospital, and everybody thought this dude was a stand-up guy, and so Bobby asked a question to his boss there in R&R, hey, what's up with so-and-so? And he goes, oh, that fucking child molester. And Bobby's like, what are you talking about, man? This guy was supposedly, Vietnam vet and all this shit. And, we heard that the dude was in his room saying that he could see, the nurse was like, hey, I'm going to turn your light out. And we got this story related to us through a medical that, the nurse says, I'm going to turn the light out in your room. And he's like, leave the light on. They're coming for me. he pointed in the corner. He's like, they're coming for me. They're coming for me. Like he was seeing demons or something, you know? And so the cop told Bobby, yeah, well, you know, everybody I've heard, the cop said everybody he's heard of who has that experience, that they're child molesters. And Bobby's like, what the fuck, man? So when the dude died, they shot his property over there. And the cop told Bobby, so, and he had the guy's name on the bag, had his property. I guess they mailed to his family or whatever. And he's like, this your friend over there that saw the demons and shit? And he goes, yeah, it's him. He goes, yeah, like I said, you shouldn't be fucking with kids. And so I was like, wow, all right. So the cop, he had issue with fucking, you know, sex offenders. And so like I said later on, you know, Bobby was gone, and there was some paperwork that circulated around the yard about some dude who did a, you know, he had a sex crime. And I think he beat down some old woman that he was caregiver for and raped her. And beat her to death or something, or her husband. And all these dudes on the yard that were, like I say, you know, they're tough guy killers. When it comes to daily living, you know, they want to run the yard and be shot callers and all that shit. Well, by all rights. And, you know, I let it be known that dude should have been stabbed. And they ended up beating that guy for like 20 minutes. That dude left the yard, dude. His face was fucking bashed in. His head was bleeding. He was pretty messed up, to say the least. And everyone's like, yeah, you know, cool. And then like 2 days later, they came and arrested. Well, they came and took like 5 white dudes to the hole. I thought, man, that's fucked up, you know. And then they came and got me, and they took me to the hole for that. I was like, what the fuck, man? You know, so there I am sitting in AdSeg. I've been programming for, you know, a few years, ever since my big tobacco escapade at San Quentin, you know, my big tobacco empire, right? And so I'm just seeing guys go home. So really, I'm thinking about, you know, I'm going to try to get the fuck out of prison. So there we all are in a hole, and you know, the cop on the yard, Thomas, he was Mr. Information. You know, he thought he was in a big level 4 prison. He's the guy all the kites went to. He's the guy everyone snitched to. Him and Reed. Reed was like into ultimate fighting and shit. But he was an older cat now. And so here comes this cop, Thomas, on my door in AdSeg. I go, hey, man, what the fuck? When am I going back to the yard? And he's like, well, you know, I said, look, dude, I have nothing to do with that shit. I go, half the dudes you got in here don't even have nothing to do with that shit. What the fuck, you know? And he goes, you know, you used to hang around a guy that worked in R&R. I said, and? He goes, so there was some paperwork that came out of R&R. Evidently, this guy went out for medical transport. And when you go out for medical transport, they print out an information sheet on you. And somehow that information sheet got to the yard. And so I was like, well, you know, what's that got to do with anything? And he goes, well, you know, there was some paperwork that was found in R&R. I said, man, I don't know what you're talking about, you know. And I go, that guy went home, so, you know, Bobby was gone. So, I mean, I don't know what the fuck he was talking about. You know, Bobby had been gone for about a week when this guy got jumped on. So, anyway, they did an investigation, and evidently a few guys went and spoke up for me with this cop. Like, hey, Smiley didn't have nothing to do with it. Lizard didn't have nothing to do with it. All the guys that they arrested all had different people going speaking up for them. So they ended up transferring everybody to other prisons. And they sent me back to the yard, and they sent other guys to other level 2s. And some of them went to level 1s because they had been level 1s. And they dropped all the 115s, you know, the disciplinary write-ups. And I think they did that because they didn't want an investigation to find out that, you know, Mr. Asshole in R&R, who hated sex offenders, you know, put that fucking paperwork out in the yard, you know, and that dude ended up retiring soon after that. Within a month or two, he ended up retiring. So, yeah, you know, the guy got me put in the hole. Thank God, you know, none of us got 115s out of it, but, you know. And then the guy that got smashed, he ended up down in Chowchilla somewhere or something, which is a woman's prison that they converted over, part of it for men, because the prison system was so overcrowded. And there's so many PCs now that they needed a spot to put some of them. So they sent that dude over there. And so when I went back to the yard, there's a south side of there I used to run around with. I talked about, you know, he had the cell phone for years, and guys ended up ratting on him. You know, he was my partner, man. He's like, man, Smiley, you know, I'm glad you're back. And I said, hey, what a fucking look at this shit, brother. These dudes are just pieces of shit, bro. And he's like, yeah, man, I've been telling you, you know. And I'm like, well, I knew. I know it's that bad. You know, that guys hate you so bad. I mean, this is a yard where dude owed money. You know, all the tough guys that run the yard, they knew this kid had some money, so they're working him. And, you know, he's paying his debts, he's buying all these guys dope, and he's getting high himself. And then when he ended up owing a bunch of money, they come around taking donations to pay his debts. And I tell them, hey, look, man, if you stab that fucking dude for not paying his debt, I'll pay his whole debt. You know, and they're, oh, you're crazy and all this shit. And the kid ended up locking up, owing a bunch of money. So, I mean, they hated me because of that shit, you know. I mean, I'm kind of outspoken about how things should be. And I used to tell them guys, you know, you want a hardcore politic in this level 2 prison, then hardcore politic, get busy with it, you know. And so they didn't like me. So, yeah, it's always the tough guys that end up telling on you, too. I mean, that's how it works, you know. The tough guys tell. So I was like, damn, well, I gotta find somewhere to go, man. I hate this fucking prison, you know. But I had the valley fever. I had the medical, you know. I had to be in a medical facility, and that place for a medical facility, the medical was pretty bad, you know. The medical services there sucked. Guys died there all the time. Guys got treated like shit, you know, pretty badly, you know. So I tell Wedo, hey, man, they're starting this long-term offender program over there, man. I'm going to go to it. And he goes, fuck it, dog, go over there. You know, Wedo's from Mexico, but he was a South Sider, you know. He had a heavy accent, but he was a good dude, man. He's like, fuck it, dog, take it over there. You know, get the fuck out. He goes, I can't go over there. I'm a South Sider, you know. But yeah, so I go, fuck it, I'm going to try and check in to see what's going on with that program over there. Long-term offender program. It was designed for lifers by the parole board. So in the meantime, you know, I'm just doing my art and kicking it. And now I'm getting fucking snide remarks from people, you know. And from the cops about, you know, about being that guy and all that shit. And I'm like, man, I'm not that fucking guy. I'm just trying to get the fuck out of prison. That's when I made my mind up solid. I had made up my mind kinda, and you know, after the tobacco incident, and I was like, man, I gotta get the fuck out of prison. Guys are getting out. I need to get the fuck out. And so Wedo kind of says like, yeah, you need to get the fuck out, bro. So, you know, and then I started talking with him about, you know, you can get out. And I go, if this guy can get out, you can get out. And he goes, well, you can get out too. You know, we're kind of encouraging each other. And he's like, well, you know, what do I do if I can't go to the program? What should I do? I said, well, you know, they can't punish you for not going to a program, but just get involved in shit over here, you know, NA, all that other shit. And he did. And I'm happy to say he's out and he's living down in Rosarita now. And anyway, you know, things, I had a friend there I used to walk track with. He was from Ventura, Mark, and he was a motorcycle rider. He had an FXR on the street. And he was, you know, he was a little out there sometimes, but people didn't like him. He was kind of outspoken too. He was, I don't know. He always had an opinion. The guys didn't care for him. But I did. I kind of liked him. He's the guy that got in an argument with this dude and ended up knocking the guy's teeth out. You know. But anyways, Mark, this is a medical, right? Mark was always complaining that we used to like to eat. And would make spreads. You know, like he got a package, make a spread. If I got a package, I make a spread. And I like making nachos with meat and all this other shit in there, you know. And then one day, you know, Mark's like, nah, I'm good. You know, I'm thinking, well, you know, what the fuck? That's kind of how you diss people, you know. And like someone offers you something that you've been going back and forth with, and all of a sudden they're like, nah, I'm good. It's kind of like, you know, fuck you. So I'm like, hey, what's up, man? And, you know, he's kind of hanging out more and more by himself. He goes, dude, I'm fucked up. You know, my stomach's fucked up. I'm in a lot of pain all the time. And so his stomach was hurting him all the time. And he's going to complain and complain and complaining. And finally they did they stick the scope down your mouth and all that kind of stuff, you know. And yeah, they seen some shit in there. And they didn't tell him about it. And so he ended up getting a lawyer. And turns out he had some stuff growing around where your esophagus or whatever goes into your stomach. And they just let it grow and grow and grow. So now he's got these great big giant, not polyp type things growing in his stomach. And he's like, man, you motherfuckers are trying to kill me, you know? And they're like, oh, we were monitoring it. And so I don't know if it was cancer or what. They ended up sending him over to East Yard for medical, and it was just that's medical for you in prison, you know. Oh, we're going to monitor that. If they would have dealt with it when they saw it, they wouldn't have had to monitor it. So Mark was gone, you know. Then Bobby was gone. The only guy I really had to kick it with was Wedo, man, and Life for Larry, you know. And so I go, hey, Larry, I'm going to go over that program on East Yard. Now, you're not supposed to go over there. And when guys come from over there, they try to remove them, you know. And he goes, fuck it, what are they going to do? I go, well, I'm going to go over there and do that program. I'm going to get the fuck out of prison. He goes, what are you going to do if you do the program and they don't let you out? You're going to have to come back over here. I go, so what? What are they going to do? Kill me? And we'd sit there and laugh. He goes, yeah, what the fuck? Would be doing us a favor, you know? And so I started telling these dudes, hey, I'm going to go over to East Yard for that long-term offender program. And they'd be like, quit bullshitting, Holmes. You're just clowning. I said, no, I'm going to go over there. And I go, it's the only way I'm going to get out of prison. You had these guys like, oh, my homeboy's so-and-so, and my homeboy's this. And they'd be dropping these guys' names that are up in the Bay, you know, like, let me give him a phone call and see if it's okay. I go, I don't need you to call nobody, dude. It's okay with me. I don't give a fuck about you, what you think about it. I'm going to go over there. And they'll be like, come on, man. You're just clowning. And I'm like, all right. And then, you know, I had a few guys tell me, hey, fuck, go over there and handle that shit. Like the older guy, Butch, he's like, hey, go over there. Fucking do it. Whatever you got to do to get out, do it. People know who you are and what you're about, so. Then I told him, hey, I just took the assessment for that test. You know, it's an assessment of where you're at and what kind of programs you need. And I took the assessment to go over there for that. And the same thing, quit clowning, bro. You're not going over there. And I said, yeah, I'm going over there. You know, it's like a 2-month process. And then I went to committee now. CMC West is all dormitories. It's all wooden structures. The front door is open all the time, you know. And windows are open, but it's all made out of wood. So I go to committee and they go, hey, look, you know, you got 115s, which is a disciplinary write-up from back in San Quentin. We used to flood and burn, you know, to protest. We burn our sheets, all this stuff, mattresses, you know, and I go, so what's the deal? They go, well, you got these 115s for burning and flooding and stuff, so you can't be in a wooden structure. I go, what's that mean? They go, it means we got to get you out of here. You're not supposed to be here. We don't know why they overlooked this and sent you here, but these 115s for burning back in the day, you should have never been sent here. So it's like, all right, so what's up? So They're like, well, you know, you're on board to go to this program, so we're just gonna shoot you over there. And so they told me, hey, go pack your shit. You're leaving right now. And so I went out to the yard, and you know, I got a few things organized. I picked up some of my shit, and you know, I got some coffee and some other shit, and I packed my property. And I told the dudes in my dorm, hey, I'm going over there for that program right now. And bullshit. I said, no, I'm packing my property right now. I told all the dudes in my dorm, some of the guys on the yard, as I'm packing my property. And I said, you know, if any of you guys got a fucking problem with that, let's go in the TV room and handle it. And they're like, oh, no, it's cool, man. We know you're going over there for that program and this and that. And I said, all right, cool. And so I packed my shit, took it up to R&R, and that's when I really regretted losing that radio. Because I would have had it with me. I would have took it over there, you know. The whole time I was over there, I thought, man, I wish I would have had that fucking radio. But anyways, I went over for the program, and, you know, about 5 months later, a couple other guys came over. Lifers started coming over for the program. And sure enough, they told me, one of my homeboys, man, he had a double murder. And he goes, yeah, bro, as soon as you walked off the yard, you were no good piece of shit. So the same fucking dudes I told, hey, if you got a problem with me going over for this program, let's handle it right now and go in the TV room. They're like, oh, it's all good. As soon as you leave the yard, they're talking shit about you. That's prison. That's fucking straight up prison. So, you know. So that's where my story ends today, folks. I was on my way to the long-term offender program, and next time I'll pick up from there. Or I might have to backtrack on a few things. I don't know. But, you know, the bottom line is, you know, prison's a shitty fucking place. And I just realized that I had to, this program was designed by the board for lifers who wanted to get out of prison. And it was explained to me basically, if you take the program, you're going to get out. And so that's where I was headed. And I planned on taking that program and learning all I could, doing it the hard way. And I expect you guys out in the world to do the same shit. Whatever it is you're doing, remember, do it hard. Thank you.